with the inking for my two characters, and I've already erased most of the pencil lines. I can still see a few, but I'm not gonna be too worried about that. Sometimes the leftover pencil lines beneath color look pretty cool. So I'm gonna go into coloring now with my Montmartre alcohol markers. And I've already picked the colors for my one girl, and I've got a test paper over here for my colors. So let's have a look at the colors real fast. For her skin, I'm gonna use beige rose, a little bit of terracotta. For her pants and hair, I'm gonna do that in black. I think her shoe as well. And then for the jacket, I'm gonna use vermilion and coral red. Let's look at those. Vermilion is a red-orange, and coral red is just red. Then for shading, I'm gonna use my cool grays. I'll go more into detail for how to use alcohol markers in a later video, but today I'll just give you guys some tips, but I'm gonna go nice and fast with this. Now, I love starting with the skin first, because the skin is the most important thing for me, and I always start with my lighter tone, which is my rose beige. All right, let's go. So it's a good idea to work nice and fast with your alcohol markers. Don't press too hard or stay in one point for too long, because the color is gonna darken and it might bleed a little bit. And if you go nice and fast, then you get a more even color laydown. But even so, I'm not too worried about little changes in the color. It doesn't have to be so perfect and pure. You know, we're not working on the computer where we can just use the bucket to fill stuff using a marker. So having discrepancy in color and leaving little gaps, I love that. It adds personality to your picture. Ah! That's okay, I can fix that. That's the trouble with talking while trying to do art, is every now and then you lose focus a little bit, you make mistakes. While I'm using the markers, I'm never worried about trying to be perfect, of course. I try not to go over the black lines. With certain pens, with certain outliners, it will smear, like it'll rub off a little bit with the color. So try to avoid just going over all of your lines like a crazy person. Rather take the time and color in between your outlines as best you can. And if it leaves little white gaps every here and there, I love those white gaps. I think they're beautiful and they make it look like a human being did the coloring and not a computer. Little mistakes are amazing in art. Happy little accidents. For big pieces like the legs, I'm gonna switch over to the chisel tip. Now with my terracotta, I'm gonna add some accents. So we can put, let's see, a little bit here on the knuckles. Maybe a little bit here under the arm. But this is more for a hue, not so much for shadow. And then on the face, I just want to add some on the upper lids, maybe the ears, tip of the nose, and maybe a little bit on the chin, on the neck. This is just for a little bit of color variation, you know, in the skin, so that everything just isn't the same. Let's do hair. Since it's all black, it's gonna be easy. I still want to plan out some highlights though, like here in these little hair tips. Definitely want to leave some gaps. And let's see, let's add some shiny bit over here. And then on the top of the head, where the hair is gonna separate from the ponytail, I'm gonna leave a long white line so we can see the difference there. Okay. I'm gonna finish up the face quickly before I move on to the rest of the outfit. What color can we make her eyes? I don't have a darker brown than the terracotta, unfortunately. I wonder if I'm missing a color. Well then, I'm gonna use the rose beige to add a little bit of color in the eye. And then I'm gonna use my outlining pen to color in the rest black. Still leaving a highlight though. But adding a little bit of color in your eye, well, like having a two-tone eye, that looks the best. So now it looks like there's a little bit of light shining through her eye and hitting the color piece on the one side. You know, giving it that extra shine. Instead of doing a double highlight thing, I've got a highlight plus a highlighted color. Then for her lips, I definitely want a darker tone on the upper lip and a lighter tone on the lower lip. To darken it up, I'm gonna wait for it to dry and then I'm gonna go over it with cool gray and for the top lip, and for the bottom lip, I'm gonna go over with the lighter gray, with the cool gray number 1. Top lip with the cool gray number 5. But I'm gonna do that a little bit later. For now, I can just add a shadow into the eye. And I'll do the same for the teeth here too. Just add a little bit of shadow into the corners. Alrighty, and the rest of the shadows we'll take care of later. Now for the outfit, here where I put in the clothing wrinkles, I want those to be highlights now. I'm gonna map them out. Alrighty, so those I'm gonna keep. And then these patches here, I'm gonna make those vermilion. Yeah, that's nice. And then the rest is just solid black. Jacket in vermilion. Then her shirt, I'm gonna leave white. That's gonna be nice. But then the last thing that I want to do is add some shadow. And for skin, it's really difficult doing shading for skin, but just to make it easy for yourself, you can divide the face in half. Give half of the skin, half of the face, put it all in shadow. And leave a little spot here for the cheek, that's fine. But putting the rest, putting all of that in shadow, it makes it look like you know exactly what you're doing. And I'm just trying to fix this little mistake that I made by going over my skin again with the marker, which of course darkened it. For other shadows, I'm just checking where the material is flapping over other stuff. I'm looking for obvious shadows. I'm not worrying too much. All right, next. So for this boy, I'm gonna give him the stripy sweater in black and cool gray number 5. I'll give him skin made out of pastel peach and raw silk. This is the pastel peach. That one's the darker one. Yeah, raw silk is lighter. So for light skin, I like to start with a lighter color. What color hair should I give him? Maybe I'll give him black hair with green highlights like Deku. So when you're working with these light colors, definitely make double sure not to go over your black outlines. Rather leave white gaps all over the place than end up with dark smears all over your artwork, which immediately makes you look like a noob. But leaving white gaps, that looks like style. That looks like a choice. With the raw silk that's dry now, I'm gonna add shadows and accents with this pastel peach. I'm not gonna add too many shadows, just in the obvious places, under the hair, for the ears, under the neck, of course. I mean, under the jaw, on the neck. Wherever there's clothing touching the skin, gonna add a little line. A little bit on the fingers. Just where the obvious shadows are. Let's go into let's do hair, yes. So for the highlights in the hair, I'm gonna do those first, and maybe we'll use this pale green. Ew, wait, no, that looks like grass. Viridian might be a bit dark, yes. Well then, I have this other color by Sino Art. Yes, perfect. And I'm gonna make a line of just like the classic anime highlight that starts at one place and goes all the way to that one side, all the way into the middle, and then all the way out again. Tips. That's it. And then I'm gonna fill it in with black. All right, now this time I'm gonna do the rest of my shadows first before filling in the color. Most of this cap is gonna be in shadow. Don't be afraid to add a lot of shadow. Lots of shadow. It looks like you know what you're doing if you add a lot of shadow with confidence. That was cool. Let's get this shirt out of the way. And I'm gonna start with black. And I'm gonna do some stripes. Now, I'm definitely not just gonna do perfectly straight stripes. That would be terrible. I'm just gonna start over here. It's got an edge. It's got an angle. And then I can just build up from there and just keep going until I get to my sleeves. So you know those lines that I talked about in this previous picture where we've got the sleeves connecting to the rest of the jacket or sweater or whatever. that is exactly where the stripes need to end. So let me quickly pen these lines in. So let's pretend this one is over here and the other one would be like that. So that is exactly where your patterns need to change. So if you're being lazy with your shirt patterns, or you don't know where you have to put them, then it's these two lines that you're missing. For the arm lines, I'm just gonna randomly make lines. I'm gonna chop and change them, make them smaller and then thicker to show the changes in the material. Now I can fill in the rest with my cold gray number 5. I'm gonna finish the hat now, and then I'm gonna do the eyes and the bubble gum. And instead of going with the bright red, I'm using the vermilion. I am crazy about vermilion. It's also a lot of fun to say. Cool. For pink, for the bubble gum, I'm gonna use Cosmos. I'm gonna make a little green highlight over here. And for the rest of the eye, I'm gonna use Viridian. And then I wanna add that shadow in the eye. Nice. Cool, and then last of all, for his jeans, let's see, I've got blue-gray. Yeah, that's gonna be perfect. Just gonna finish it up with some blue-gray. Cool, and the shoes, I think, I'm also gonna make those vermilion. And then the bicycle, I don't really care that much about. So I'm just gonna play with my gray. Cool, that's it. I'm happy with those. And even though they're not 100% original characters, like we got inspiration from Pinterest, that's fine. Like every time you draw, you don't have to come up with something brand new and fresh every single time. Rely on reference and just work on your skills. Yeah. All right, cool. Bye.